Highbridge, a division of Recorded Books, presents Nothing to Lose: Unlikely Allies in the Struggle for a Better Black America by Pastor Darrell Scott. Read by Bill Andrew Quinn. 1. What makes you think black people will vote for you? Word on the street is, you're a racist. Those were my first words to Donald J. Trump. His answer would alter my view of him and put me on a journey that I never expected. It was 2011, and Trump was considering a run against President Barack Obama in the 2012 presidential election. The real estate mogul wanted to gauge his support among evangelicals, both white and black. So he gathered some into a crowded conference room on the 25th floor of Trump Tower. As far as I can tell, no one has ever discussed this meeting in print before. Here's how it all went down. Pastor Paula White, the longtime spiritual advisor and friend of Donald Trump, phoned me. Paula has many friends in the black churches, including me. I knew that she was conducting lunchtime Bible studies in Trump Tower. What I didn't know at the time is that sometimes Trump would drop by. He had become more curious spiritually as he had grown older. It was a personal transformation, the beginning of a spiritual journey, and the media was unaware of it. At that time, Paula owned a unit in Trump Tower. How she came to own it is a story that reveals a hidden side of Trump. She told me that years earlier, Trump had told her that he had a unit available in the tower and asked if she was interested. She told him that she was interested, but the price was way out of her reach. Preachers don't usually make enough money to afford a condo in Trump Tower. Hearing her reply, Trump said, "I'll see what I can do to help you." He contacted the company sponsoring his speaking tour and suggested that it offer Paula a contract as part of his tour. She earned a nice sum for each speaking engagement. Sometimes she spoke several times per month. She set the money aside, and after about a year she had earned enough money to purchase the unit. Trump didn't give her the money or cut the price, nor did she ask him to. She did not want to infringe upon their friendship, nor try to capitalize on her spiritual influence over him. He created an opportunity for her to earn that money, and she worked very hard in doing so. When Paula phoned me, she said, "I wonder if you and Belinda can meet me in New York. I have some things I want to talk to you about." Belinda is my wife, and it was no problem for us to go. Paula had been our friend for many years and had spoken at my church many times. I didn't know what the conversation in New York would be about, but our friendship was such that I didn't feel the need to know in advance. Belinda and I would simply wait until we got there to find out. So Belinda and I flew to New York. After we met Paula downstairs in the lobby of Trump Tower, she escorted us to a large conference room on the 25th floor, the very room seen on The Celebrity Apprentice. A long table dominated the room, and the windows offered a commanding view of New York's forest of skyscrapers. The others in the room were just as impressive as the view. It was a veritable who's who of black and white church leaders, televangelists, Christian book publishers, gospel singers, television network owners, and program hosts, some very large personalities in the Christian world. I won't name them here, because to this day a lot of them haven't divulged their attendance. While we were all exchanging pleasantries, Donald Trump walked in. I wasn't expecting that. I don't think anyone else in the room was either. At first, I thought he was just going to say hello to Paula and the rest of us, and then leave. Instead, he started talking to all of us. He said, "I asked Paula to ask some of her friends to come here because I'm thinking about running for president in 2012. I was shocked. This guy was thinking about running for president? Trump continued, "I asked Paula to invite some of her friends here that she believes are in contact with God, so that you guys can pray for me that God gives me the wisdom to make the right decision as to whether I run or not." I never thought of Trump as humble enough to ask for prayers. His television personality displays self-confidence and even brashness, but in that moment, he was asking Christians for prayer. This was unexpected. I wasn't an avid watcher of The Apprentice, because I primarily watched Christian television, and I wasn't a hardcore Trump fan. But I was familiar with who Trump was. In fact, I liked his brand, which I knew was synonymous with luxury. I had stayed at the Trump Hotel in Florida. I even owned a vintage Trump watch, which I still have. I once had a Trump mattress that I slept on very well. Trump stood and bowed his head. We all prayed over him. It was a solemn moment. Together we prayed. Lord, give him the wisdom to make the right decision. Lead him in the right direction. Let your will be done regarding this matter. No one pulled out a phone to record it for social media. In that moment, Trump was just an ordinary guy who was requesting prayer, like any person who comes to church and desires prayer. That impressed me. Afterward, he sat down to talk. We sat there for 5 hours talking about our Christian culture, our country, national and international issues, both big and small. No topic was off limits. Trump opined that conditions in our country could be much better. He talked about U.S. Supreme Court seats and the need for federal judges who were conservative and respected the Constitution. I was impressed by the breadth of his knowledge, which ranged from economics and defense to social issues and poverty. Then one preacher said something I would never forget, something that would come true later. I want you to know one thing. If you decide to run for president, you're going to be the target of a satanic attack like you've never seen before. Trump was unlearned in our Christian vernacular, our Christian mode of conversation. He was kind of taken aback. I mean, you're telling me the devil is going to attack me if I run? He didn't quite know what to make of it. I don't know whether he believed it or not. He found the comment interesting, however. He nodded and continued talking. Then Trump acknowledged me. Now, anyone who knows me knows I'm outspoken. I can be blunt. I can be candid, sometimes to my own detriment. It's hard for me to suppress my thoughts and feelings in an open dialogue. I'm not a loose cannon, though. I looked right into his eyes and said, "Let me ask you a question. What makes you think black people will vote for you for president? Word on the street is, you're a racist." Trump looked right back at me and didn't blink, flinch, or hesitate. "I'm the least racist person you ever want to meet," he said. "In my line of work, in what I do, I can't be racist. I work with all kinds of people in all walks of life." I waited for the rest of the explanation, for the standard, "I had a black friend when I was in the 3rd grade," or "We had a black maid," or "I know a lot of black people. I like black people. Some of my best friends are black." He never said any of that. He didn't pander, didn't bend over backward trying to convince me he wasn't a racist. He just continued being himself. It caught me off guard, because I had been expecting him to try to persuade me that he was not a racist. Trump considered it self-evident that he was not a racist, that the allegation just wasn't serious. He wasn't going to waste any time trying to explain why he didn't have 2 heads or why he wasn't a racist. He dismissed the idea entirely. Something about his words and manner, the sense and spirit of it, made me realize that I liked the guy. He was open and honest. He sat and talked with us for hours. He was in no hurry to leave. He knew a lot more than I gave him credit for, too. And he knew himself. He was not just a stereotypical elitist billionaire. Barack Obama, president at the time, hadn't changed the lives of the black community. Black utopia hadn't come. Now I was being offered another choice. I liked Trump. I liked his personality, directness, and honesty. I also liked his opinions regarding the state of the country. As for qualifications, I wasn't concerned. Obama had become president with little experience. He had been a first-term senator who hadn't even finished his term. Before that, he was a part-time lawmaker in Springfield, Illinois, and a part-time lecturer at the University of Chicago. All things considered, Trump was just as qualified as the last guy. I walked out of that Trump Tower conference room with a different perspective, not only about Donald Trump, but about the leadership and direction of our country as well. Near the lobby elevator, one of the departing preachers said to me, "I like your boldness. You said that to Donald Trump's face about him being a racist?" I replied, "I didn't come here to kiss up to Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't ask me up here to kiss up to him. Believe me, if Donald Trump wants to be kissed up to, he doesn't need me or anybody from Cleveland coming here to do it. I put my cards on the table. I didn't have any reason not to. Michael Cohen, one of Trump's lawyers, came over and introduced himself to me, saying, "You know the boss. He likes that. He likes the fact that you were blunt and outspoken with him like that. He liked that about you." Trump came over to say goodbye. "Hey, you're asking tough questions, huh?" "Hey, you're a tough guy." I was only telling the truth. "Let's stay in touch. Get his number, Michael." Cohen and I agreed to stay in touch, beginning a friendship with many ups and downs. He called me a few weeks later. The boss decided not to run. "Man, that's too bad," I responded. "I'm disappointed because I would have liked for him to have run. I like the guy. I think he would have done a good job based on our conversations, but let's stay in touch." Over the years, Cohen and I stayed in contact. He called me brother minister, and I called him counselor. I liked him very much, and I think the feeling was mutual. I would always ask, "How's the big guy doing?" He was always upbeat when it came to Trump. "He's doing great," he would say. "Stop up and see us sometime whenever you're in New York." Fast forward to 2015. I got a call from Cohen. "The boss is thinking about running. Turn your TV on." I turned on my TV just as Trump was coming down the escalator. Cohen didn't waste a second. "You in?" "Heck yeah, I'm in. Let's put together another meeting with pastors like the one we had a few years ago. I'll call Paula up," Cohen said. "You bring some guys on your end, whoever you want to bring." This time, however, the meeting was different. We went back to Trump Tower, and there were a lot more people in the room this time. A lot of preachers who prefer to remain anonymous, even to this day. I took some guys with me, including Pastor Mark Burns from South Carolina. He didn't know much about Donald Trump. He later became a CNN regular as a Trump surrogate. We arrived at Trump Tower to find a mixture of black and white preachers and Christian personalities. The conversation was largely the same as during the previous meeting: the U.S. Supreme Court, gun control, abortion, and so on. When it came to the black preachers in the room, however, we were determined to ask hard questions. "What do you think of Black Lives Matter?" Trump didn't miss a beat. "Listen, black lives do matter. White lives matter too. The Black Lives Matter organization has some good points, and they have some bad points." He didn't elaborate. We kept firing questions at him. "What do you think about the fact that police are out here killing black people?" Trump was direct. "Listen, I wonder sometimes if the police feel that the use of deadly force is necessary. Why do they shoot to kill? Why don't they shoot to disable? Why don't they shoot an arm or a leg?" Okay, that was pretty interesting. It was a unique perspective. It again showed that he was not pandering. I could tell that he was giving thought to each question, and that his observations were coming from a place of personal honesty. We kept hitting him with questions. "Well, what about the inner cities?" "I believe that the sources of a number of the problems that the black community faces are unemployment, underemployment, lack of quality education, and depressed living conditions. If we could provide jobs, or better jobs, raise their income levels, provide better educational opportunities, and renovate and revitalize the communities that minorities live in, not just African Americans, but Hispanics as well, I believe a lot of the crime and a lot of the disenfranchisement that they're experiencing would be solved." "What makes you think you can fix this?" That was Trump's sweet spot. "Who's a better builder than Donald Trump?" "What about jobs?" He said, "If you cut me, I bleed jobs." "What about education?" "I support school choice." Okay, then. We were very satisfied with his answers. I found it remarkable that on that day, in that room, Trump adopted a position of humility. It seemed to me then, as well as now, that he has an old-school 1950s-like reverence for clergy. When he came into that room, he immediately adopted the position of the lesser and acknowledged the clergy as the greater. He humbled himself in our sight. He said, "While you guys were pursuing a higher calling, I was out building buildings. I think it's time for me to catch up. This let me know that he honestly felt that what we did as preachers was much more important than what he did as a developer, and it also gave me insight into his mindset. Younger people think about their destiny. Older people think about their legacy. Apparently, there was still a void in Trump's spirit, a lack of fulfillment that could only be satisfied through public service on the highest level. I also think that at this juncture of his life, he was wondering about the afterlife. He believes in heaven and hell, and undoubtedly wants to make heaven his eternal resting place. He again requested that we pray on him and pray for him, which we did. This time, however, a lot of the pastors pulled their cell phones out. What should have been a private, solemn moment became a social media event. Some were grandstanding, trying to lay hands on him and attempting to slay him in the spirit on the floor or something. He wasn't familiar with that. Some tried to lay a hand on his forehead, reaching under his hair, and he was taken aback a bit. They were trying to maximize that moment. There was a somewhat puzzled look on Trump's face, but he was enduring it. After the prayer, we sat back down and the conversation continued. A lot of the preachers were excessively complimentary. They began comparing Trump to King Cyrus in the Bible, who was raised up to liberate the people of God. One preacher even compared him to John the Baptist. When he said that, I leaned over to Trump, whom I was sitting next to, and said, "So now you're John the Baptist, huh?" He leaned over to me and said, "I've been called a lot of things in my life, but I've never been called John the Baptist before." We both laughed. Everyone was wondering what we were laughing about. It was our private joke. After a while, some of the preachers insisted that Trump change his style. They asked him to stop being so confrontational and combative, and said that if he would change, they would pray about it and consider voting for him. As preacher after preacher stated what they believed Trump should change, others became empowered to speak up, until it became a room full of critics pointing out what they perceived Trump's flaws to be and what he needed to fix. It went on like that for quite some time. At some suggestions he nodded slightly, but for the most part, he just sat there and took it. Trump is one of the best listeners I've ever met. While he's listening, he's processing. At one point, he said, "I'm a counterpuncher. I rarely hit first, but I always hit back." And the preachers replied, "Well, stop hitting back so hard and so much. Stop responding sometimes." I watched them take advantage of the situation. They seemed to have him on the ropes, and his respect for clergy restrained him from commenting the way that he could or should have. After a while, I couldn't take it anymore. I actually had begun to feel sorry for him over the way they were ganging up on him. I don't like bullies, and they were trying to bully Trump. So I spoke up, because I knew they wouldn't challenge me the way they were challenging him. "Don't tone down anything," I insisted. Trump seemed startled. "What?" The preachers were surprised, but nobody said anything. The reason I don't like bullies is because I used to be one in my former life, to my regret. I remember once, when my wife and I preached at a citywide anti-drug crusade, there was an altar call for people to give their lives to Jesus. The first person in that line was a guy who, when I last saw him years ago, I was stomping him in his face. My heart smote me when I saw him in that line. I was too ashamed to pray for him. I had to ask my wife to do it. I had to tell him I was sorry about what I had done to him in the past and asked him to forgive me, which he did. I regret the bully in my past. I explained to Trump what I thought his appeal was. The thing that I like about you, and if America sees it, if they see out there what I see back here, is your authenticity. You be you. Don't let these guys—" and I waved my hand at the preachers. They didn't like that, but they knew better than to speak up. "Don't let these guys take you out of your personality. America doesn't want a watered-down, fake version of Donald Trump. Don't go out there and pretend to be somebody that you're not. Just be you." Trump got the message. "Oh, you think I should continue being the way I am?" "Yep." "That's interesting." Trump said, still processing. The other black preachers in the room reinforced my view. Keep that, one said. Keep doing you. Soon, nearly all of the black preachers in the room rallied in support, urging Trump on. People don't say it now, but before he ran for president, Trump tapped into the black community by being a big, bold personality. He is partly a product of the black community, a hip-hop icon. Trump is cited on more than 20 rap records on which the artists rap about being like him. The bling, the money, the swag, the bravado, the chutzpah, and the luxury. All that is a part of the hip-hop culture. It's a part of the presentation. You see it in the videos and the performances. Later, I told Trump that if he wanted to win black votes, he would have to be his own man. He couldn't be another stereotypical politician with empty promises. We like leaders with courage, leaders who are fearless, leaders with balls. One thing I noticed about Democrats was that they gave black people only emotional reasons, not rational ones, to oppose Trump. They didn't tell us, don't vote for Trump because of the economy. They didn't tell us, don't vote for Trump because of tariffs. Instead, they said, Trump hates you. He is a racist. They said the same to Hispanics. They told women he hates women, that he's sexist and wants to go back to the 1950s. They never gave reasons related to national security, foreign relations, the economy, jobs, or the performance of 401k plans. Pretty soon, the black preachers began to dominate the conversation, and the white evangelicals felt a bit left out. Sensing this, I told Trump, wait a minute, I'll tell you what. We need to have our own all-black meeting with you. Trump loved the idea. Yes, we need to have a meeting where we can discuss things relevant and pertinent to the black community. I'll tell you what. I'll be down in Georgia next week. I have a rally down there next Friday. You guys meet me down there, and we can discuss it. Bring as many African-American people as you want. That's not the kind of thing a racist would say. During the meeting, I kept getting texts from Cohen saying, say something about me to the boss. Tell the boss that Michael's doing a good job for him. I instantly saw that Cohen craved affirmation from Trump. It was a personal foible that would later impact his life and make many people around him suffer. But that was in the future. At the moment, it just seemed a strange thing for him to be thinking about during that historic meeting. When we got to the Georgia rally, I saw the Tea Party activist Herman Cain there. I knew who he was, how he had thrown his hat in the presidential ring before, and how the left had done a hatchet job on him. I respected him highly and was excited to meet him. He was very warm and engaging then, as he is now. Presently, one of the event coordinators came over to me and said, Pastor Scott, can you open it up with a prayer? It caught me off guard, but I stood before the thousands and prayed. Then I gave a brief exhortation. Cain came up a little while after me. He was there with Trump from day one. At Trump's very first rally, 2 black people had been asked to speak. The crowd was 98% white, but I sensed no racism in that arena. Those people from Georgia seemed happy to listen to a black preacher with a northern accent. Trump arrived late. Trump Force One had a mechanical problem, and he had to take a second plane, the smaller one. As a result, he wasn't able to give us black preachers the time that he had promised us. We engaged for around 15 minutes. He said, look, why don't we do this? If you don't mind, let's meet next week at Trump Tower. I'll be there. Come on back up. Bring as many as you want to and come on. We'll be able to meet without any interruptions. Then the organizers came and asked him to go on stage. I met Trump's daughter, Tiffany, for the first time there. She was just a nice, quiet young lady standing by. I didn't know she was his daughter. I thought she was a campaign worker. She spoke to me and was very friendly. Trump did his thing at the rally. Afterward, there was a news conference. He invited me and the other preachers on stage with him. He handed me the microphone. I found some words. The American system of government is divided into 3 branches. You've got the executive branch, the legislative branch, and the judicial branch. As a legislator, I don't know what kind of legislator Donald Trump would be. As a judicator, I don't know what kind of judicator he would be, but as a chief executive, I've got belief in him right there. That's the job for him. To me, he's America's CEO. I can see him as being the CEO of this company called America. I meant it. If I didn't, I wouldn't have said it. Exactly 108 preachers, mostly black, showed up at Trump Tower the following week. The media was out in front of Trump Tower, and a few of us addressed them on the way in, but there were not a lot of reporters at that particular time, and they didn't know who was going in and out of the tower for what. Many preachers had been invited, but they were intimidated when they began receiving phone calls and texts. Someone had put out fake news that they were meeting with Trump to endorse him, which was not true, and a lot of the preachers got spooked. The notion that black leaders would even meet with Trump, who was running on the Republican platform, was considered heresy, at least to the press. Democratic preachers who had not been invited began to pound their soapbox in order to intimidate others, and they succeeded with many. Other preachers called and began to make excuses when the controversy heated up. They were flat out scared. At first, they had been excited to meet with them, but then a number of them chickened out. But 108 preachers and black Christian leaders, according to the Secret Service's count, did attend the meeting. I was surprised to meet Omarosa, most famously known as a contestant on the first season of The Apprentice, there for the very first time. I knew who she was from television and that she was an ordained minister. She and I became friends immediately. She was from Youngstown, Ohio, and I was from Cleveland, so there was an instant Ohio connection. I think she was there at the invitation of Michael Cohen, or she had found out about the meeting and been determined to attend. Regardless of the reason, she was there and was an unabashed Trump supporter. We opened up the meeting with prayer. I gave an introductory speech, and contrary to the Democrats' party line, there weren't any Uncle Toms in that room. There wasn't anybody up there trying to shine Trump's shoes or kiss up to him. He got a lot of hard questions. You would have thought that Trump was on the witness stand and we were the prosecution. I intentionally allowed really tough questions as I coordinated the meeting. What do you think about black people getting killed by the police? What about these allegations of racism against you? Do you like or don't like black people? Are you a racist? What about Eric Garner, who was killed in a chokehold? What about Trayvon Martin? No question was off limits. We went around the room with everyone asking questions. Some of the questions stood out. One pastor asked, "What's this stuff about the guy that kind of got roughed up at your rally? You had your people take him out." Trump's response was perfect. At your church, if you're in the middle of preaching and a guy gets up and starts to disrupt your service, what would happen? Oh, my security would take him out of there. Well, all right then. What do you want me to do? You answered your own question. The pastor considered Trump's comment. Yeah, you're right. Okay. Every question they asked, he answered without blinking. He didn't duck. He didn't dodge. He didn't deflect. We had a wonderful time. There was a lot of back and forth, a lot of intensity, humor, insight, combativeness, confrontation, and great discussion. We aired it out. The pastors in that room made me proud of the way they represented themselves, Christianity, the black community, and America at large. I was impressed with their knowledge of the issues and their comments and suggestions regarding how to solve some of the problems that plague all of America, not just black America. The meeting wrapped up with me saying, "Does anybody else have anything to say to him?" Everybody said, "No, we're good." How many of you dislike Donald Trump? I asked. Not one person raised their hand. I pressed on. If Donald Trump pulled out his checkbook and offered to write a check to everybody in here, who wouldn't take the money? No one put up their hand. Let's go downstairs as a consensus and make a joint statement. We will say that we had a great dialogue, a great talk. We covered a lot of bases. There was a buzz of agreement. Then I moved to a conclusion. We have pledge cards for those of you who want to endorse Trump. We passed out the cards. If you're interested and...
Sample complete. Ready to continue?